Everyone, Apollo PS2 here. Just wanted to go through the most recent PTS update that came out today. That goes over the new content that's coming to PlanetSide 2, Oshur, Chain of Islands, that's supposed to change everything we know about spawn logistics on Araxis, and the playtests associated with the first iteration that came out today. These playtests are happening on Friday, this Friday, January 14th, 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern, as well as the next day, Saturday, at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern, where players will be able to get a special profile banner for their characters and also submit feedback that can be accessed through the latest news section on the game launcher. Now, Oshur's going to be open the entire time during these playtests. Playtests are ideally probably going to last around 4 hours if history is anything to point to, but it's going to have its own Bastion fleet carrier that doesn't really have a shield around it, it seems. Kind of like a beefy Warpgate, if you will, that's out in the middle of the water. Speaking of water, that's the big thing about this content, is that now we have these awesome water physics that affect different vehicles differently. So wheeled vehicles will act almost like boats that putter along the surface. Hover vehicles, such as the Mag Rider and the NSO Javelin, will hover over the water surface, and treaded vehicles will go alongside the bottom. Air vehicles are supposed to be able to go in between water and air effortlessly, or at least somewhat effortlessly, and then infantry walk along the seabed below. Now, the note about the air vehicles in this iteration of Oshur, they're still a work in progress. They don't quite work, but that will be fixed in the future. And the base layouts of the continent, there's going to be about 50 facilities in total. The outside ones in the first iteration won't be activated, but there will be 6 new facilities, 2 different facility types. One being the Trident Relay, which is not active yet, but another 3 each on the continent. And then 6 large outposts, your normal 3-point capture bases, 18 normal small outpost bases, and 16, you read that right, 16 open field construction capable bases. Prior other continents, older continents, we've had 3 of those types of bases on each one. So that'll be very interesting to see, as well as some of the construction changes that we'll get into. Speaking of construction changes, we might as well just get into it now. They're going to be making, not in this build, but test 2 build, they're going to be making the speeds at which you mine cordium as well as deposit it much faster, and the cordium capacity of each different vein, or the things that come out of the ground where you get cordium from. Those are going to be increased in capacity as well, and they're considering removing actually routers, or just restricting them, nerfing them. I've been a big proponent for a long time of changing the profile of the router to that of the Elysium spawn tube, so they're much less defendable. We'll see what they decide to go with from there. Maybe they just get rid of them outright and see what happens. I think that'll be interesting to keep an eye out on. Now, current bugs that they know exist with this build, just your normal visual bugs, missing textures, that sort of thing. But vehicle gates and shields on a lot of the bases are not going to exist yet. The Trident Relay new facility is literally a gray box on the map. So we won't be able to interact with that yet, but hopefully in the next build. And then a lot of foliage is still clipping, or considered solid, not, you can't walk through it or anything like that. And then also the Bastion apparently does not know where it is elevation-wise, so it probably clips with the continent quite a bit. Going to be interesting to see if anyone pulls that during the playtest. So that covers most of the important large bugs. A lot of it's just visual. So we'll still be able to get a good feel of how the continent plays out. Some other changes that are coming to the test server that aren't directly related to Oshur, but just the game in general. 50% reduction to both friendly fire damage as well as the grief points you accumulate over time when you dole out friendly fire. This is to kind of combat, a lot of the AoE weapons causing a lot of damage to friendlies and that sort of thing. And they do note that the 50% number is probably a little high, but they would rather start high and tweak down from there, which can't fault them on. Speaking about the routers previously, we expand on it with spawn changes. They're essentially going to revert a lot of what they've done over the past 2.5 years to adjust the spawn logistics. Used to be much harder to move around the map. People would complain how they'd be losing to a Zerg on, somewhere all the way across the map. They'd have to go defend it, and then they'd go back, and then they'd start hitting the same lane again, that sort of thing. So people wanted more options, but what that led to was a redeployside meta, as it's called, where people are able to go all over the map to, fight out fires wherever they want. And it didn't really reward strategic placement of forces, of vehicles, that sort of thing. So we're moving back more towards that pre-2019 era, where you're relying more on vehicle transport, but it's still going to keep some of the changes where you can spawn in the base next to you, even if it isn't part of the same lattice lane, that sort of thing. Some of the frustrations that existed. So it's nice to see that they're trying to nail that Goldilocks scenario. I know it's really hard, and it has been for ever since the game came out. How can I get where I want to go as soon as possible without it being too cheap or cheesy, right? We already talked about the construction changes, but in terms of vehicle balance, the Kobalt is getting a pretty heavy nerf. 1/6 of its max damage is getting chopped off. Min damage doesn't really change that much, but then its uptime, as defined by its magazine capacity, is going to be changed depending on which vehicle you slap it on. But in general, it's supposed to be less effective at just shooting bullets down range for infinite amount of time, it seems like, when you have that mag size increase slapped on there. So that's going to be nice to see. The NSX Amaterasu is also getting nerfed, where it's actual projectile. So this is the knife where if you swing it while wielded, it gives, we call them bananas. They throw them out there for a ridiculously long range. It's being brought back down to 15 meters. So really, it's only going to be meant for indoor fights at this point, and not just to spam when you've run out of ammo on your primary and secondary, and probably rocket launcher as well. So the UI quality of life improvement, the big one here is going to be the HUD Compass. That's going to be the top center of everyone's screen. This is going to be awesome for squad play, making callouts. No longer need to look down at your mini map in the bottom left-hand corner to yell out a cardinal direction that people then have to look at their mini map to get to. No, we can just look up from where we want to look at in the first place, which is the center of our screen, and call it a number, and everyone understands very quickly. So that'll be cool to see in action right away. Bug fixes, there's a lot of ones that don't really matter that much, but two in particularly do, and that is the spawn-capable vehicles deployed on an incline will no longer occasionally cause your character to spawn in at an angle. What that means is that the lean bug that's been plaguing the game for the past 6 or so weeks is gone, or at least hopefully is gone. I know it's kind of been in the game for a few years now, but it's been really prevalent recently, with people just being almost completely sideways running around, which is crazy. And then hacked vehicle terminals no longer prevent remote vehicle spawning. I guess this isn't really a bug, but the real bug is that some territories will report your actual not hacked vehicle terminal as hacked, and you won't be able to remote pull from the map, which is hugely annoying, especially if you're trying to get a Valkyrie and the aircraft terminal is nowhere near the spawn room, like, say, a tech plant. This is going to be really great to see and see how it works. So that's it for now. That's the update that's coming to the PTS. I'm sure there'll be multiple iterations before we actually see Oshur on live, which I'm guessing will be sometime late February, hopefully. But be sure to join these 2 playtests tomorrow and on Saturday, and also provide the feedback that you can once again access via the launcher. Till next time, see you guys later.